All right, so earlier in the week, I put out a post saying that cacao is one of the most potent sources of dietary heavy metals. And it had many reactions, lots of engagement for this reason in particular. Cacao is really powerful. It's a wonderful health food. So in the health and wellness industry, it can be a staple for many of us. But I just don't think people are responsibly sourcing it. I don't think people are responsibly being transparent with it. And I think that we need to do better at choosing our cacao. So, with that said, I found the need to disseminate empowering information, which is what we do here. Inform you all with the best ones out there, teach you all how to find the best ones out there, and then choose a better cacao because it's kind of like the Wild West, actually. There's a huge spectrum. There's cacao that's really crappy, high in heavy metals, particularly lead and cadmium, and then there's ones out there that are a little bit better. The first concept I want you to understand is what is a COA? That's a certificate of analysis. It's a sheet or document, and these are going to highlight the properties of the subject at hand. In this particular issue being cacao, right? So it's going to highlight the properties with analytical data. And we're going to hopefully see on every single one third-party tests, reference range for different particular points like lot numbers, batch numbers, like physical color, odor, density, moisture, pH. But it's just as important as all of this in the sourcing is to know if there's any impurities in the product at hand, right? So for the cacao, we're looking for foreign matter, toxins, pesticides, fungicides, residues, mold, GMOs, but most importantly, in the context of all of this, heavy metals. So one of the main things that I look for already when I reached out to these companies, and I reached out to many companies, one of the main things I look for is, are they transparent, right? Because if someone is dodging questions or not transparent, then I, with my own trust issues, already don't believe it. Okay. But if someone is forthcoming, proactive, and assertive at showing how well their company is, how proud they are, right? Then they give you all the information. They say, look, here, check this out. Look, all right, aren't we great? That's the company that I want to get behind. So what I did is I asked many companies, and any ones that denied the certificate of authenticity, I already was a little bit suspect on them. Okay, so. And it's the same thing. The COA was what got all of these supplement companies in trouble a few years ago, like GNC or Walgreens or Walmart. They had third-party testing, and it didn't match up to what was said that is in these capsules. So Proposition 65 is basically, it's imposed by the Office of Environmental Health Hazard and Assessment back in the 80s, and it became law in California. So what happens is here in Cali, where I live, it'll show a sign if a product or a company or a business or workplace has chemicals that are known, over 900 of these are on the list, that are known to exceed California standards. And it usually says something like this: this product may contain a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer or birth defects or reproductive harm, okay? So that's important because California seems to be very strict and very stringent on what the levels of toxins are, and tries to protect Californians so we can make informed decisions whether or not we still want to buy it. And I'll see this sign everywhere. I'll see it on some supplements. I'll see it on some renting units, some housing units. I'll see it on some businesses. I saw it at Whole Foods once because of the stuff that they were talking about BPA in many of their products. So the Proposition 65 levels, California levels, are usually lower than the FDA for that reason, because they're very strict and stringent. The problem with the FDA is, like, it's a rabbit hole. Their levels are, to me, higher than they should be. And when you look down that rabbit hole and you find out why, I won't get into it on this episode. I'll just say FDA is a little bit corrupt. You find out that their levels are, to me, you should always be more strict, particularly in the form of heavy metals, because heavy metals build up in the system, right? So if I'm being exposed to something that has heavy metals every day, day to day, it is building up in my system. Now, if it's chemical that's excreted in 12 hours, okay, maybe that gets a better pass, right? But when it comes to heavy metals, I always want to pay attention to what California is saying. So for cacao, what we know, and I did a chocolate episode a few episodes ago, maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, we spoke about lead and cadmium. Lead and cadmium are the two notorious heavy metals to be shown to be in cacao. Okay, so what these companies are saying from the get-go, and I got a lot of emails where they're saying it's natural, it's from the earth, so we can't really control that, but rest assured we're organic, it's fine. But what they don't know and they don't mention is that, or they don't mention, which would even be worse, or I don't even know if they don't know that, that might even be worse too. But what is not being put out there is that there's many studies out there that show that actually the beans, the exposure to heavy metals are not necessarily coming from them sucking it up from the ground, but it's coming from shipping and processing. Okay, so please pay attention to that. If anyone says, oh, it's natural, it comes from the earth, that's why cacao has lead and cadmium. So many companies are using a lot of this type of verbiage. Take our word for it, or we would never, or we source from the all organic, ensure the best. These are quotes that I can see in my head. And it's sort of disheartening because no, I'm not. I have trust issues, and I would like to see third-party data that actually verifies and validates what you're telling me, okay? So I try to take a forgiving tone with this, and I promised myself I would, but I just don't like when companies are beating around the bush or taking shortcuts or not thorough. So the EPA and FDA are involved in setting the limits, but remember, I told you Cali has their own limits, so I'm going to go with the Cali limits. The maximum, you might want to write this down, the maximum allowable limit for cadmium when it comes to the California limit is 4.1 micrograms per day. For lead, it is 0.5 micrograms per day, and no levels are safe for children. Remember, that is the Cali level. Cadmium, 4.1 micrograms per day, lead, 0.5 micrograms per day. Now, to compare, the FDA's dose per day for lead is 12.5 micrograms in contrast to Cali's 0.5. Okay, and for children, they say 3 to 6 micrograms per day are safe. Again, in contrast to Cali's 0.5. So you can see Cali takes these more conservative limits, and rightfully so, because they're heavy metals and they build up. When I'll get these emails back, sometimes they'll go as far as saying, oh, we tested our product and it came back with 0 heavy metals. Okay. Or they'll say, we tested our product and it came back with, and then they'll spit out some numbers. Still, that doesn't mean anything to me. I could spit out how much I bench press and I could say 500 pounds, and you going to believe it, or are you going to believe it when you come to the gym and see me struggling and dropping the weight when I'm doing 500 pounds? You understand what I'm saying? You have to see that evidence. Otherwise, you're just going to take someone's word for it. And that person could be completely misinformed, or even worse, misinforming you. Moving on, when we talk about this, there was a I mentioned this on the chocolate episode, there's a 2017 independent testing done by As You Sow, and what they did is they found high levels of lead and cadmium in different beans, right? These chocolate beans. And what happened was they pushed, because of this, actually, they caused Cargill, Hershey's, Mars, and Nestle to get their own independent investigators after that, because they got in trouble for lead and cadmium. So it's if you're in the industry, you know that these heavy metals are big. So now, on to my best and worst. This is what you all been waiting for, right? So these lists are based on transparency, for one. Of course, if a company's transparent, I'm always listening, right? Because, like I said, if you're transparent, you're proud. They usually go hand in hand. If you're transparent, you're proud. If you're avoiding, or you're giving me jargon, or you're talking to me like I wouldn't understand it, then I got a problem with that. And if the and I also used information from the third-party testing As You Sow. There was some information on cacao powders, and then of course, if they produced a certificate of analysis, then I went through the numbers, converted them, put them into daily doses, and then found that. So before I get now into the particular companies, let me just say I reached out to many of them, and I did not hear back from the following companies. So if they're the ones you've been waiting hand and foot at the edge of your seat, I have no information on these. Blue Lily, Zint, Cacao, Cali Natural, Anthony's, Levy Fit, Divine Organics, OMG, Healthworks, Zen Spirit. None of those reached back to me after I made multiple inquiries, so I can't say that they're good. I can't deny that they're no good. So we'll just leave it at that. Like all products reviews, I always start with the worst and then we build up to the best. Give me the bad news, then give me the good news. So Now Brand has a cacao powder, and I called about it. They didn't give me a certificate. They say they don't give it. And here's one crazy thing that companies do. They say, we don't give the certificate of analysis because it's proprietary. I was like, proprietary what? Heavy metals are proprietary to your supplement, which is crazy to hear. That's like any company saying, oh no, we can't show you what's in it because these minerals are proprietary to our lettuce or our broccoli or our cabbage. They are inherently there and or adulterated, but it's not a proprietary. You're not giving away your formula. All you're doing is showing the levels of inherent heavy metals. And if a company does have any proprietary info, right? If it says that they're sourced from, and then it says this sacred land in Ecuador, just don't send me that page. Just send the heavy metal. And that's what companies did. They sent me the heavy metals only page to protect their proprietary sourcing. I get the sourcing. I get you want to keep it proprietary and safe. But then just send the heavy metals. That's all I asked for, and I didn't get it. So back to Now Brand. Too high on the cadmium, too high on the lead with the numbers that they verbally gave me. But then when you look at the as you sow levels, they're astonishingly high. Way too high cadmium per day. Remember I said 4.1 micrograms per day per serving. This is getting 10.8 micrograms per serving. So you're already done with the day. You're at more than double the amount. And then lead is 7.5 micrograms per day or per serving you're getting with now. And the allowable limit is 0.5. So way too much. Now take that, throw it in the garbage. We'll keep it at that. Moon Juice, flat denial. They said proprietary. They said it multiple times. I asked multiple times to send it out. They said big no's. They were copping out. They were swerving left and right like the Matrix. Too much. I didn't want it. Done. Goodbye, Moon Juice. Prana, another company that was particularly dodging everything. Same dialogue. They say we offer high quality. It's organic. You don't need to worry. Acting like I had no idea what I was talking about. Way too much. Again, these are companies that are dodging. I already am a suspect for. And look, if they were transparent, it might have been another story, but if you're dodging, then what am I going to do with the information you give me other than, believe that it's not a good product? Sun Food is one that is found and it's pretty popular. Now we're getting to the popular ones. I spoke to someone directly on the phone, right? They were a really nice lady. I feel like we bonded too. And they said, yes, Dr. Gonzalez, we are sending it to you right now. I'm actually typing in your name and sending it to you right now. And I checked 3 times last night and I got no email from them. Now, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she forgot, okay? But what we do know from the As You Sow investigation is that their cadmium was astonishingly high, over 11 times higher than the amount, 11 to 12 times higher than the amount per day that is allowed. And their lead was about, let's see if I can do math anymore, 6 times, 7 times higher than the allowable amount. So Sun Food was one of the worst cacaos that I have found, almost as bad as the Now Brand when it comes to the cadmium, but the lead was too high. The cadmium was too high for Sun Food. These are older readings, and look, the company could have done so much better from those readings, but they didn't even provide me, so I don't even know if they're doing better. All I'm going to go with was what the data showed and what's out there, and that's what's out there. Had they provided a COA, would have been a different story. All right, I know you've all been waiting for this company. I know you've all been waiting, and here I'm going to talk about the most popular cacao brand out there. See, and I even went so far as to bring it with me. So here it goes. Navitas. You will find this everywhere. I actually went to Whole Foods and I go, where are your cacao powders? Lady goes, come with me, come with me. So I go, I'm walking, weaving in and out of the aisles, and I get to the cacao powders and I go, oh, okay, where are the rest of them? And she's like, oh no, we only carry Navitas. So apparently this company has a monopoly on Whole Foods. One of the most recognizable cacao powders. I'll start off by saying this. They were hard to get in touch with. I called, I left 2 messages, no one ever responded. Other people on Instagram advocated for themselves, and thank you all for doing that. They requested COAs. They said they don't give certificate of analysis, which is already a red flag. They are organic. Great. And that's what they got. That's what was sent out to these people on emails, that we're organic, we're high quality. You go on their website. They echo that in many ways. They say it's high in antioxidants, fair trade, which I'm all behind, good fair trade products. And I'm behind the organic label, which it does have, non-GMO label, which it does have. But when you go on the website, you'll find an area where they talk about Proposition 65. And remember, I just spoke about that before. And they said that, and actually when you look at this product in itself, and you go to the back, the very back, and on the bottom it says, warning, this product contains chemicals known in the state of California to cause birth defects and other reproductive harm. Proposition 65 stamped them. And here's why. Because they self-admitted, saying on the website, lead and cadmium registered and caused the Proposition 65 warning to be triggered on here. Now, for the Proposition 65 warning, what they do is they find the level that would have no observable effect finally on humans and lab animals, and they divided it by 1,000 for the safety margin, which should be done because not everyone's the same. Right? Not everyone has the same chemistry. Not everyone detoxes the same. Not everyone has the same genetic pathways to help detox. So not everyone's breaking that down. That's what I'm trying to get at. So the company put out this warning, and they said that that's the reason why they have this Proposition 65. So then you go on the website, and you'll see they have this graph. And on the graph, it shows different foods. It only has one for lead. I don't know why they didn't include one for cadmium, because that's another cause of concern. They only had one for lead. And for Navitas in the lead, they put different foods, right? They showed like pineapples, avocados, and the exposure to lead. But then at the bottom one, they compared that to the Proposition 65 level. Where they messed up is they should have compared it to their own product's level of lead, because then they would have told us how much lead is in the product. Because if it's triggering a Proposition 65 warning, we don't know how much lead is in here. It can be way past, it could even be approaching dangerous levels. And because they're not a transparent company, they're not providing COAs, they're not calling Dr. Gonzalez back, they're not emailing people back, that's a big problem to me. And I don't want to believe that this company is really high in levels of lead or really high in levels of cadmium. But I don't know, because you do not give me transparent information. So Navitas, I want to give love to you, but I can't, because your company has dodged and dodged and dodged. So if this company was smart, they would put on that graph, like I said, lead and cadmium, their levels compared to different foods, so it can at least alleviate the consumer's brains. All right. So with that said, Navitas, like I said, I want to believe you're good, but I won't put my money when I know that there's better ones out there, and I'll talk about it. Trader Joe's, same idea as Navitas. They have the Proposition 65 warning. We need more transparency. They didn't give me anything. I called out to them. And the same goes for Thrive Market. I asked them, nothing. They didn't provide anything. And that's what you're seeing. So if you're seeing Proposition 65 warnings, you know that it exceeds and it dings on California's limits for, particularly in this context of cacao powder heavy metals. Volupta, we're almost done with the worst ones. Volupta refused to share for proprietary reason. They hit us again with the soil explanation. Heavy metals are found in the soil. Sometimes they're low, sometimes they're high, but they're within guidelines of the FDA. Didn't mention anything about California. Didn't give me the COA. Goodbye. Wellness Poets, same idea. No COA. I have trust issues. They sound great on email, but I don't believe you. I'm Lakesh. I am apostrophe Lakesh. COA, nothing. Never gave me, just gave me numbers on email. I don't believe you. Cacao with K's instead of C's. They say their levels are 0. We don't believe you. We need your COAs. So those are other companies. See, again, unfortunately, had they been transparent, they could have been on the best list. But if you're not transparent, then I can't talk about you. So why don't we just go to the best list? Enough of this negativity. I need high vibration. I need light. I need empowering information. So let's go to the best of the best. Now, the best ones were the companies that were transparent, the companies that gave the COAs, right? The companies that were behind their products, the companies that easily gave their COAs, that did third-party testing, and their COAs were nicely broken down and just very easy to read. Like this is good stuff. Now, sometimes if you receive these certificates and ask for it, it may be hard because different ones report differently. Some reports in parts per million, some reports in parts per billion, some report in milligrams per kilogram. So basically what I did is I converted it all to micrograms, right? And micrograms are basically what is based on, remember I talked about the lead and cadmium levels for the Cali limits? Those were in micrograms per day. So what I did is I converted it into micrograms per tablespoon because most people use a tablespoon of cacao in a day. So that's basically what I did. I multiplied it by the amount in a tablespoon. So let's talk about the best of the best. Terrasoul. Terrasoul gave me the COA. They didn't mention anything about something being proprietary. We can't hook you up with it. They didn't give me any of that bull. They didn't give me no runaround. Their COA was easy to read. Literally 4 heavy metals that are found. The 2 highest ones they showed, along with arsenic and mercury. And I did the conversion. And basically what it shows is that, all these are going to show is that cacao at this point in the game, they all have heavy metals. Just depends on what level. I'm only going to recommend, for the most part, either 1 to 1.5 teaspoons, you'll hear me say, and some of them maybe 1 tablespoon. Do not exceed 1 tablespoon of cacao in a day, okay? And to be on the safer side, I probably do 1.5 teaspoons or so, or leave it at that, or maybe 1/2 tablespoon. So the big point is don't do more than 1 tablespoon in a day. So Terrasoul was good. It's good. It had good levels, but when you have a whole tablespoon of Terrasoul, it's sort of approaching those levels of lead and cadmium that I don't like. So I will recommend that as being a really good one, but using up to 1.5 teaspoons per day. Leave it at that. But Terrasoul, thank you for being open and showing me the goods. Compared to Terrasoul, the next 3 ones that I'm going to talk about are all in the same book. They all had the same theme. So Wildly Organic, Mountain Rose, and Viva Naturals all provided me with COAs. And in those COAs, they were very easy to read, did the conversions. And basically for the Wildly Organic, I'm going to recommend 1 teaspoon. For Mountain Rose, I'm going to recommend 1 tablespoon or under. For Viva, 1 teaspoon. So for the next 3, they're going to follow the same chain. So they're very much so alike. They're good, but we just want to stay away from doing more than 1 tablespoon. So for Wildly Organic, Mountain Rose, and Viva Naturals, they all provided me with COAs. They were easy to read. They were clean. They were third party. They were right there. And they didn't complain like the other companies about proprietary stuff. Thank you. So for all of these, I'm going to recommend 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons. Okay? Because pretty much when you had a tablespoon of either or of these, they approach the higher limits of lead and or cadmium. So again, still better quality ones. So my favorites. Now we're going to go to my favorite one. The favorite one I found, the cleanest one that I found, and I promise you I am not sponsored by any of these, although I would not deny or push away a company for sending me cacao, Santa Barbara's Chocolate Company. They had the lowest levels per tablespoon of cadmium and lead of any cacao that I saw. Santa Barbara Chocolate Company. Never heard of them. I only heard of them when they commented on my post, and they said, we have a very clean product. We'd be willing to send you COAs. They were really transparent and proud. And I was like, okay, well, let's wait till we see the COA, then we go from there. They send the certificate of analysis, and it was third-party tested. They were very much so willing. I did the numbers, and guess what? Out of all of the cacaos that I saw, Santa Barbara Chocolate Company had the lowest levels of heavy metals per tablespoon. So if I buy cacao, I'm pretty much only going to buy the ones that I had mentioned in the best. At this point, there's no cacao that has 0,0000 across the board. All of them are going to register for heavy metals. That's a fact of life at this point. So I hope now you learned some companies that you can trust. And if I didn't mention a company in here, now you know what to do. You call up the company and you say, hey, Jan, I want to get your COA on this company, and I need you to send it to me right now. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to send it to Dr. Gonzalez. We want to empower me and my family, so get the numbers and send it to me if you can't do the conversion, or you can look up different conversions, but basically you want to get it to micrograms per day and compare that to the numbers that I spoke about, California's limits today. Oh man, that was quite the show. It was a lot of work. If you appreciated this, I'm going to say this now and I'll say it in social media or whatever. If you appreciated the show and it helped you out and you learned about cacao, right? And you learned about heavy metals, so much work went in here. Share it. Share it, share it, share it. I'm talking about share it minimum 5 people. Do 5 people in your life, friends, family, coworkers, whatever it is, and send it to them. That is my only ask of all time on this show that I will ask, is that you share this because it's really empowering information. I feel really proud of this episode.